I would like to introduce this week's guest, Amber Henry, an impact-driven mompreneur. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and then we will jump into this week's topic, work-life balance.
Absolutely. I am a mompreneur, as I said, which just means that I work at home and I have my kids with me all the time. I have a wellness-focused business, and I also coach others in business to reach their goals, particularly busy moms. So we talk about this topic a lot.
And it's a really important topic, especially, over the last year when we've had a pandemic that's pretty much shut everybody down because so many people who weren't working from home before are now at home. So it's, yeah, and it seems like nobody really cared about working from home and even romanticized the idea of what it was like to work from home until they were stuck working from home. So it became real to them real quick.
So I went from the whole, my friends and family are like, hey, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? You don't have anything going on, right? You never do. To, wait, how do you manage all of this all the time? So that's positive.
Yeah, it's crazy because a lot of people, when you work from home before the pandemic, and I see it still for people who, and I'm not talking about essential workers because a lot of them do need our support. I still see it a lot for people who work from home of, oh, well, you're at home, so why can't you go and do all these extra things? You can just work later. And that's not always the case. But that's what leads to this conversation about why work-life balance is so important. And then whether or not work-life balance even exists when you work from home, because you're literally living where you work and you work where you live. It's not like you have this commute. And I've actually heard a theory that some people actually do this. They will go out and drive and just drive back home just so that they have that decompression time between work when they work from home. Like they'll still leave and go take a drive and come home just to have that little bit of space between, making the switch between worker and, parent or partner. So, but, for someone like us, we've been parents and partners, but primarily we've worked from home for this big span of time. So I think that for us, we've been in this space a long time. We have a lot of valuable expertise that we can offer people in this space.
I was surprised because I started thinking about it and I actually came up with notes on how I do it. And I didn't realize that I had a thought process on it, but I do.
Okay, well let's hear some of your top tips for this. Let's talk about these.
Okay. Which other than the processes or the notes, I actually found a definition for work-life balance that I thought was so much better than what we painted as.
Okay.
Because we tend to paint work-life balance as this perfect fairy tale where life is going to be perfect, nothing's ever going to encroach on one another, you're never going to feel guilty or anything like that.
Right.
And I don't think that's possible. So I've heard it called a unicorn a lot. And then I found a different idea of it. And, well, I found a few ideas, and I kind of put them together. So, what I like is that the idea that it's a degree to which a person can embrace their own priorities while achieving their activity goals and still having a sense of fulfillment in life.
I think that's good. So it's more like integration at that point versus, say, trying to balance at all, because when you're working from home, we have this idea, it's romanticized that you're going to have more time for your family. But yet, as you know, and I know, if you're spending more time with your family, and in my profession where time is money, literally, if you're spending more time with your family, for example, you're not making money. But if you're working more, then you feel guilty because you're not taking that time with your family.
And so that is something I've had to work on. And so I like this definition because it means I just need to be able to meet my priorities and my activity goals. I don't need to be perfect in every area all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like an assessment, and it doesn't matter so much about the rest.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I broke it down, and I didn't realize I was going to do it this way, but I think the three things that help me to actually have balance, as far as my between business and life. And I also have community thing. I'm big on trying to be active in my community and with my family, extended family. So I have a lot of things that I'm balancing.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way that I do it is I focus on processes, having clear priorities, and having purpose to everything that I do. And so for me, processes is more so that if I am in business mode, I know exactly what my income producing activities are that I need to do. And I will set a timer, I will do it, and I know that if I've done that amount of activity for that amount of time, then I'm done. And for the sake of processes and keeping everything straight, I actually tend to do time blocking. I don't know if we've ever talked about that. We can elaborate on that, but we can dive into that later. Number two, with the priorities, is that I know who matters first and what matters the most. And so, like you said, I don't make money if I'm giving my family all of my time. There is a point in my business where I could scale back some, because at a point, hopefully you have some reoccurring things coming in often enough, but I'm not to that point. So my time is still money. And so I've set my priorities is that I need to make this much, which means I need to put this time into doing what I need to do. And I schedule that. And before I schedule that, I schedule in what I have to do for my family.
And scheduling is so important.
Yeah. So I schedule my family first, the necessities. I schedule anything with a actual appointment time. And then I schedule in my business priorities. And then everything else gets scheduled too, like my self-care or whatnot, but that's all comes next. And I have it set down in 30-second time blocks, so I can do it.
30 seconds?
30 seconds? Yes.
Wow.
No, not 30 minutes.
Okay, I was gonna say, man, you're like a speed demon. Like, you put me to shame, because I work in like 15 to 30 to 45-minute increments, and here you are doing 30 seconds? You monster.
30 minutes. I was off.
Woo, girl.
So I do 30-minute increments. I know what I'm going to do from the time that I wake up in the morning, whatever I set that to, and the time that I go to sleep. It should be the same all the time, but when life goes crazy, sometimes it moves. So, but that allows me to manage my priorities and make sure that those are set. So when I'm working my business, I don't feel like I'm neglecting my children. When I'm spending time with my children, I don't feel like I'm neglecting my business, because I know that I have that time set. And this is not their time. This is not my business time. So, and then the purpose thing is just, you can't find fulfillment if you don't know what you're working towards. And so for me, my sense of purpose is I know where I'm going and my vision is clear on that. And so I know why I'm working, so that I don't feel guilty for doing so.
And that clarity, it's so important. How often do you review your objective or your goal to, keep yourself focused so that you stay balanced in that way?
Right. I swear you'll get so distracted if you don't know what you're working toward. Because
I agree.
life comes up and you're like, well, it's no big deal right now. This is more important. And then suddenly everything is more important.
And I have found for me, it also, when I review that and stay clear on what I'm working toward or why I'm doing it, like people say, find your why, like your main why, that it has helped me stay more balanced. And as someone who is prone to anxiety, um, it's actually helped keep me calm because I understand better what I'm doing. So in that sense, it helps me mentally stay more balanced, basically.
Right. And then your mind's not going, well, I should be doing this or I
Right.
should be doing that. Or am I not putting my time where it should be? Because you know what you're working towards. And so if somebody asks you to go drinking on Friday night and that doesn't align with your goal, you feel a little better turning them down.
Yeah, exactly. So now that I've totally distracted you, so how often do you review that? Your overall objective of why you're doing what you're doing. Do you review it, say, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly?
I do it kind of all. Not all, but every morning. So I have a journaling routine because for me, I also deal with anxiety and things.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about that before. Um, if I don't get myself centered before I start my day, I won't hold to whatever my schedule is, and I'm not going to function right. Everything's going to stress me out. I'm going to worry. My brain's not going to work. It's going to short circuit. And so I sit down and I do a brain dump every morning, and I do a couple other things as far as what I want to do. But one of those is I write down my goals. But instead of writing it as my goal is this big thing, I write down something that I could have achieved or I could achieve or experience from that goal. So
that's a good one.
If my goal is to earn $1,000 more a month, maybe I can donate $100 to my favorite charity. Or maybe I can take my kid out and buy him $100 Lego set. And it's just writing these down, without a second thought, I can take him and buy $100 Lego set.
Right.
And so I make myself kind of feel what that goal is every morning, and that gets me motivated again. As far as big goals, I do set them quarterly, and I do set activity goals every week. But my activity goals are not so much of a vision goal. I set a vision goal about quarterly because I want my life to change and improve
Right.
every quarter. So.
And then can we touch on the fact about how important it is to not beat yourself up over the fact that if for some reason your life changes, that you don't meet your activity goal or even your monetary goal, that it is okay not to beat the crap out of yourself?
Yes, I actually put a star here and wrote grace for self, and I did a
Yes, please, more of that.
What?
Yes, please, more of that. Grace for self.
Yeah, because well, for example, at the beginning of the year, I set really huge activity goals, and so for the first 2 weeks, I hit those in my business, and I was very excited, and I was definitely into it. Or the first 2 weeks because I front loaded my second week. But then the sky kind of fell down. My grandpa got very sick.
Right, I remember.
Yeah. And so when he came home, we realized I was literally the only person in our family that was able to come home and take care of him. And so I came home to do that. And that means he's very weak, like he's on oxygen, and whenever he stands up, heart rate drops.
Right.
And his blood pressure goes crazy. And so you basically have to carry him across the room everywhere he goes. So this huge activity goal required me to be working at least about 5 hours a day,
like
like
focused
focused
hours.
hours.
And
And
that's
that's
not
not
including,
including,
the
the
occasional
occasional
Facebook
Facebook
post
post
or
or
something.
something.
I
I
don't
don't
include
include
that.
that.
So
So
that's
that's
not
not
possible
possible
while
while
I'm
I'm
taking
taking
care
care
of
of my
my grandparents.
grandparents.
So
So right now I'm
working
working
1
1
hour
hour
in
in
the
the morning
morning
and
and
then
then
1
1
hour
hour
later
later
at
at
night
night
as
as
my
my
very
very
stagnant
stagnant
time
time
frame
frame
that
that
I'm
I'm working.
working.
And
And
then
then
I'm
I'm
doing
doing
some
some
throughout
throughout
the
the
day,
day,
but
but
my
my
activity is
activity is
definitely
definitely
lower
lower
than
than
what
what
my
my
goal
goal
was
was
there,
there,
and
and
I'm
I'm
cramming
cramming
some
some
more
more
in
in
on
on
the
the
weekend.
weekend.
And
And
I
I
had
had
to,
to,
for
for
me,
me,
having the
having the
priorities is
priorities
what
is
kept
what
me
kept
from
me from
taking
taking
myself
myself
to
to
that.
that.
Because
Because
it's the
it's the
third
third
weekend, and
weekend,
I'm
and
like,
I'm
I'm
like, I'm
3
3
weeks
weeks
into
into
this
this
bigger
bigger
activity
activity
goal, and
goal,
I
and I
didn't do
didn't do
it.
it.
And then I
And
was
then I
like,
was like,
well,
well,
but
but
my
my
family
family
is
is
priority
priority
number
number
one.
one.
Yeah.
And I'm
And I'm
doing
doing
all
all
of
of
this for
this
my
for my
family. And
family. And
so
so
being
being
able to
able
be
to
here
be
is
here is
literally
literally
why
why
I
I
work at
work at
home.
home.
So I'm
So
not
I'm
going to
not
kick
going to kick
myself for
myself
not
for not
overworking
overworking
at
at
home
home
while
while
I'm
I'm
living
living
the
the
dream of
dream of
working at
working at
home
home
and
and
being
being
able to
able
take
to
care of
take
them.
care of them.
And
So,
what a dream it is because, you're not having to try to get FMLA, you're not having to do any of that, you know.
yeah.
Um, my husband and I were talking about it, and we talked about his grandparents and his dad. If that ever came up, he's like, I would want to do the same thing. He's like, I have no idea how I could do the same thing though, because he has a typical career and he only has so much time that he can get off, and he's like, I hope I could do the same thing, and if not, I don't know what would happen. And I was like, well, hopefully I'll still be able to help. At least we've got me to fall back on,
Right.
But we were talking about how it's just, everybody else has already used up their vacation time. My family is very connected. They actually, I will give them credit, did not ask anything of me until they used up their time. So I thought that was kind of nice.
And FMLA is great, but once you've used up your paid leave, all you get is unpaid leave. And what are they supposed to do, you know?
Right? And my dad actually, he stepped in and took care of them for a while, and he ended up taking a loan to take an extra month off. He's an owner operator, so he's able to take time off like that. But if he's not out working somewhere,
He's not making money.
making money. Yeah.
Yep.
So to be able to actually bring my work with me was a differentiation there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a difference.
Absolutely. And I also feel like grace has giving yourself self-grace has a different benefit in that the more grace you give yourself,
the
the
quicker
quicker
you're going
you're
to
going to
rebound and
rebound
be
and
able
be
to
able
get
to
back
get
to
back to
activity.
activity. Because if you start kicking yourself, you tend to shut down a lot faster and not get back to work. And that's not productive.
I agree. I have this self theory that we have to be able to give ourselves the grace, not just that, but more like the love and care that we would give our own child if they were in that situation. You know, reasonable parents, I'll say it that way, because, you and I know some people that have gone through some shit. Reasonable parents would not treat their children the way that a lot of us treat ourselves when we haven't done as well as what we think we should do. And so when we start harping on ourselves, we just keep digging that hole deeper, and it's a lot harder to get out of.
Absolutely. And what's crazy is that we can give ourselves, I don't know. We can give ourselves crap.
You can talk however you want. It's okay. I'll keep all the bad words. Don't worry.
Anyway, but we will give ourselves crap all the time. And like for me, when I am going, like right now, the activity that I'm doing compared to most of my industry, like whenever you talk to people, the activity they're doing is less than what I'm doing right now, and I'm on low activity.
Mm-hmm.
But I give myself crap as if I'm still not 5 times
or 10xing everybody else's activity 90% of the time.
It's
So
because you know your capabilities and that's what you're used to doing because you're a high performer.
yeah. So you have to definitely put it into perspective and be like, you know what? Sometimes your best at that moment isn't enough. As long as you're still meeting what your needs are, it's okay to not go to the next level at that moment when you've got a lot going on. So
And you're honoring the other part of that balance, life. And right now, your life demands are your grandparents and taking care of that aspect. And so it's okay that business is taking a little bit of a backseat. And that's okay.
yeah, and I mean, it's not like it's hilarious to me whenever I really actually give myself a moment and I'm like, well, how bad am I actually doing? Well, I did a live. I've talked to all my customers. I brought in new customers. I'm on a podcast tonight. I mean, clearly I'm not doing any work, so I should definitely kick myself. Like, a lot of the time, whenever we're giving ourselves crap, we're not actually.
We're doing fine.
Yes.
Because, you could always give me, when I'm ready to strip the audio for this video and shoot it out for RSS, you can always give me the link to your stuff so I can put it in the show notes,
Right.
Never know.
Yeah. It definitely. I think it's so easy to give yourself grief where you shouldn't be giving yourself grief at all.
It is, but a lot of that is that internal noise that we picked up as children,
Yes.
where we weren't pleasing others enough. And so we just take it with us. It's that internal record that we just keep replaying over and over and over. And then again, when we're high performers, we're so used to it, and we want to make sure that we're providing for ourselves and our families because we're working from home, and we want people to take what we do seriously.
Right.
So.
And what's funny is that usually if you're showing up at all, nobody else knows that you've dialed it back a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
You're waiting for somebody to judge you, and they have no idea.
Yeah, that's the truth.
People don't care as much as we think they care.
That is the truth of the matter. That's such a good tip, though, about giving grace, giving ourselves grace. So what about the littles? What sort of tips do you have for everybody there as far as work-life balance? Because I know that's a big deal, especially with new people working from home before and during the pandemic. That was a lot of the concern that people had, was they wanted to work from home because they had kids. Then they learn it's not as easy as they think. And then a lot of people get forced into it because they have an essential worker, or because, the school shut down, daycare shut down, this shut down, that shut down. And then they're like stuck at home. They feel like, they're stuck. So what are your best tips for those who are stuck at home? Because 2 of mine are up and out. Like, I could give tips all day long. I don't know that a lot of people are going to take me seriously, with the exception that I have an 11-year-old special needs child. But a lot of people aren't going to listen to me anymore.
Well, see, I know that for like ironically and not as a bragging point or anything, but my kids are both home in virtual schooling right now because of the pandemic, and it's been my biggest business growth period that I've experienced since I started doing any kind of work from home. Now, part of that was my motivation change with the pandemic, and I got more serious. But it was also that I figured out how to manage it, because suddenly I needed to, because they were here and they had what they needed to do.
And I think that right there is a good point, is learning to do it because you have to figure it out.
I think that happens so often. Like nobody ever wants to make a change until they're forced to.
But a lot of people won't even do it then. They want to just hide in the fact that they're overwhelmed. And I understand that, because you and I have both dealt with overwhelm a lot. I'm not trying to say, how dare you be overwhelmed, for anyone listening. That's not what I'm saying. I have complex PTSD. I understand overwhelm better than anybody. I'm just saying that at some point you have to just say, you know what, I have to figure this out.
Mm-hmm. So for me, time blocking is a huge part of it. Kids don't wake up on a realistic schedule. I always hear people say, wake up an hour before your kid. My
My
4-year-old, if I try to
schedule
schedule an hour before my 4-year-old, he will wake up an hour earlier every day.
I've
I've
tried
tried
that.
that.
It's
I
that
don't know how he
internal
does it.
alarm. It's that internal alarm. That was Jacob. That was Jacob.
And he woke up. I have no idea what happened.
My 20-year-old son now, he's 20 now. That was him. That was him. It's Uriel now too at 11.
Right? I hear people say, they're like, hey, schedule an hour before your kids wake up so you can get some sanity. I'm like, great idea. Try that at my house.
You haven't met my children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, since
Since
my child wakes up for me,
They
he
wakes
wakes
up
up
with
with
me.
me.
I
I
do
do
schedule
schedule
so
so
that
that
I
I wake up an hour before I have to do any work because
because
your
your
brain's
brain's
not going to work
the
the way
way
that
that
it
it
needs
needs
to
to
as
as
soon as you wake up.
Unless you're like one of those crazy
morning
morning
people,
people.
as a joke. But for me, I'm not a morning person. I have to get my brain going in the morning, and I
I'm
have my
either a
routine.
super early morning person or like an 11 a.m. person. That's me. Like I'm not like a mid-morning person. Leave me alone. Like I can do schoolwork with Yuri at mid-morning. That's cool. But as far as anything else, no. Leave me alone.
Right. Chris used to pick on me because we'd sit here and he loves to wake up in the morning and like run through the house and do like a cleaning session.
Cool. Have at it, homie. Just leave me alone.
Right? I have no problem with this whatsoever. But then he comes in here and he's like, I always end up doing the quick run through in the house. He's like, you don't clean. I'm like, I do clean, but you clean in the morning. And I don't clean till the afternoon. And so he started cleaning and he realized that I would clean in the afternoon, but I wasn't that good until 2 p.m. Like, it's just not happening.
He takes the AM shift. Mommy takes the PM shift.
Right, exactly. If you want to pick something up in the morning, pick it up. And that's how it turned into. So I'm not a morning person, but once I had a morning routine, I could get an action. And
Yeah.
for me right now, getting an action in the morning before I go somewhere is important. So my my hack with him in the morning since he's always up, instead of sticking him in front of his device first thing, because then he won't listen to me further in the day, um, is that I wake up with him in the morning and I give him a cup of hot chocolate and some breakfast, and he thinks that he's got his coffee set. And I actually drink hot chocolate now too, but I used to drink coffee. And so I'll make me some hot chocolate and we'll sit there and I plan my day out and I do my journaling and whatnot for about an hour. And he's got his hot chocolate. After that, they have set points in their schedule where they have to do something. And then they have set points in their schedule where they need to play outside or in their room, or they know that it's time to read a book, or they know that it's time that they can actually play on a tablet or play on the game. And my biggest tip is to give them enough consistency and a clear enough schedule on that they know what the routine is. And then stick to it. Because if you don't stick to it, your kids are going, they're master salespeople. They're going to campaign for that freedom.
Yes, ma'am.
And so when you give them that consistency and that schedule, they actually prefer it. And when they have that consistency in their schedule, you can set your schedule around.
Yes, ma'am.
I know Riker will read from, or he has a class from 8:30 to 9:30, and he's going to be completely occupied in that class. So Tyler, at the same time, my youngest does Khan Academy during that time. And they're both busy and occupied, so that's when I get my morning routine done. And then Riker has 30 minutes of reading time, and then we go to my grandma's right now. That's how we go.
Right.
So I've made my schedule around theirs, but I've also made their schedule set. It's not necessarily 100% set. Riker's is for virtual right now, But even when it isn't, and I was home during summer or during breaks with them, they still had a set schedule. At this time you're gonna do this. You're gonna, you can play in your room from this time to this time, like 8 a.m. to 12 on a day where they don't have any school. And then 12 to 2, you can have some actual TV time or something.
Right.
But then you're gonna go outside and play. You're gonna have lunch at this time, whatnot. And they know exactly what's gonna be going on, and they know when to leave mom alone. Which helps too. So
Yeah, parents need a little bit of downtime.
right. And I don't. I like things like this, like a video. I don't schedule until after bedtime.
Right.
That's just
I do that with phone calls with clients. My long-term clients, I will take some phone calls from them because they know what to expect with Uriel being nonverbal, and that sometimes he may come in the room randomly and make a noise or do something, but they know to expect that even with the occasional video call. But for new clients or something like that, I schedule that in advance when he will be busy with something or when his dad is home, which is a lot of the time. But, right now he's helping his brother with a project. So he's not home as much. And so I have to schedule things around that just to keep everything running smoothly, and that's really important.
When Chris, so Chris works during the pandemic. It's been hard because he works security management,
Right.
And so he gets called in often, and he's salary, and so that's how that works. If he gets called in, he gets called in. But I do plan around his days off, and if I have to set something up, I'll set it up in the morning. On his days off, if I have to, I'll make it 15-minute segments.
Right.
To get stuff for things like that. That way he can keep the kids in the other room, and I'm in the office, and it works out. Clearly today I didn't have that option because he's 6 hours away, and I'm here. So I planned it around
Bedtime.
they're asleep. Now I can do things because bedtime is more set than waking up.
It is, and I understand that. Delete that notification. Okay.
Oh, and including your kids in the discussion helps too. I don't know if that applies as much in your scenario. I don't know how that works.
It depends. With what's going on with my business, like a lot of my long-term clients, they love seeing him on video. They love when Uriel tries to get involved. They think it's great. So, a lot of people love hearing about him, like on Twitter and seeing him. People love a lot of that stuff. And so, sometimes I include it. It just sort of depends. And so with the older two kids, both of them, they're 22 and 20 now, and they don't live at home for anybody listening. They're out on their own. They have jobs. But each of them spent at least 2 summers working for my company. So they've both had client interactions. They've written for clients, they've researched. One hated it but did it anyway because it paid. The other one liked it a little more, and occasionally when he's tight for money because he's young and just starting up. They're both young, but um he'll still see if I have overflow work and if there's anything he can do. And so he still gets involved. And so,
Right. Like Riker doesn't want to be as involved. Actually, Tyler particularly, he doesn't want to do anything. Like I do a lot of video. He doesn't want anything to do with the video camera. Doesn't matter. Like I can't take a picture of him. Riker would like to do funny videos sometimes, but he doesn't do a lot of that. But getting him involved for me means when I'm looking at doing something like setting new goals and I'm going to be more active, I sit down and I tell them what my vision is, my purpose is to do that. And then when I'm doing those morning goals, I'll ask them for one. Hey, if mom had some more money coming in, what would that do for you? what could we do that was fun, and we'll talk about it, because then whenever I'm telling them, hey, right now mom has to go in here and work for a minute,
They
you need to
understand.
it'll be this, and they're like, okay. And that's so I can get more Legos and we can go play some more,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's how it
When they
works.
understand a little more with what's going on, it helps them better accept the reality that what mom or even dad, for any of the dads listening, or grandma or grandpa, or aunt or uncle, or whoever they're living with, they understand the reality of better, of why they cannot always be the center of the world, and why the work actually must be performed. Oh, there's Crom.
Which we do the same thing with their dad, and that's why I started doing it with my business, because my youngest hates to see dad go during the day, in the morning, and it's like he has to go to work, he has to make money. Why do I need money? Well, do you like your Legos? Do you like picking your favorite food at the store? Do you like this kind of stuff? Well, yeah. Well, money buys that. And so we started one day. I think my husband's actually the first one that ever did it with the kids. And they were like, why does she need to do a live? And my husband's like, well, when she does the live, she makes money, and then you get Legos. And they're like, oh, well, I didn't know that worked the same way as you going to work. And I realized I hadn't explained that to them. So if you're not explaining that to them, they're going to interrupt you because they're not taking it seriously.
Right.
But if they see the reward for them, they're more likely to relate. And I also tell them the exact time frame. Like, this is going to be 15 minutes, then I need you to be quiet for a moment. I'm going to turn a timer on and focus for 15 minutes, then we can do whatever you want.
And I
And
think
they know when that timer goes off, they can talk to me.
that scheduling and modeling that for the kids is also important as the parents, guardians, adults in their lives, because it helps show them what is going to be required of them to be successful adults, no matter what they do in the future, whether or not they want to work from home. Because, I don't think working from home is for everybody. Not everybody likes being home all the time, or most of the time,
I don't think Chris would ever go for it, honestly. We've talked about it. Like, if I start making crazy money with working at home, are you going to come home with me? I really like my career. And he just kind of sits there, But he likes his job. He finds fulfillment in his job, and he's an extrovert.
yeah.
And I'm an introvert. He doesn't want to be home that much. He did say that if he could find a way to go fishing all the time and work from home, he might think about it. But I think that's a little bit different than working from home. So
He could become a professional fisherman.
he got some kind of sponsorship for it recently.
See?
For like radio birds and stuff. So I think he's starting to work for it. I'm contagious, apparently.
He sent it to me randomly. He's like, I got
sponsored to do something. I'm like, look at you turning into an influencer.
It's
Funny. He plays sports and all, but he was so excited.
It's always great when it's something you love. It's always great.
Like, I'll buy this all the time anyway. So, yeah.
But the scheduling and the modeling it is so important to see, for the kids to see these things happening, and for the parents to stick with it, the scheduling and the sticking with it, and to find that cutoff time and to stick to it, especially I think when people are employees and not necessarily self-employed, because if they're not going to get paid extra for checking their email, answering their phone, finishing that project, or whatever, like, they need to find whatever time they're supposed to stop for the day, they need to stop.
That's, which, we've talked about that, and I think it's rubbed off on Chris some. Like, he does have to check his email when he's at home, but he checks it when he wakes up, and then he checks it before dinner, and then at 1 at night. And he started managing it the same way that I manage responding to my social media stuff. Otherwise, if he sees an email pop up, he ignores it. He's not messing with that right then.
That's good. Those distractions will kill your productivity period and your family time.
Right. Being able to separate it. And I think that, that's work-life balance looks different whether you're at home or if you're working out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's important no matter what. I do the same thing. If the time scheduled is for family time, my phone is laying down and on do not disturb.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yes, my important people are starred on my phone so they can call me, like if something comes up with my grandma or grandpa.
Does that work on your phone? It doesn't work on mine.
It does. So they're starred and it's on do not disturb.
I can't get that to work.
I have to make sure that my volume is up. I can't turn my volume down when I have do not disturb.
Okay, I'll try that.
I did that accidentally. And then Chris kept saying, "You said that you starred me. Why can't I get a hold of you ever?" I'm like, I have no idea. And then I looked at it and I'm like, oh. I've been turning it on do not disturb and turning the volume down. I didn't know that you didn't have to do that.
I start our favorite mutual person, and I tried that, the do not disturb, and I was like, hey, call me, because I tried this. Nothing. And I was like, this doesn't work. I'll try that.
And my phone's also on do not disturb at night, so my alarm goes off in the morning, but nothing else goes off. But yeah, I turn my phone over. If I'm on family time, I am not on my phone, and if I'm on business time, I set a timer.
That's
I'm
excellent
setting
advice.
15 minutes at it, and when that timer goes off, I'm done. Because otherwise I will become an obsessive freak and spend 3 hours doing extra. And that's when I have balance.
That's not balance.
They're like, you're not talking to us, or you're not doing things, and I'm like, yeah, I got really focused in business, and I just didn't stick to my stuff. I used to have that problem a lot. So setting timers made a big difference for that. Like, once this timer's off, I'm off. I instantly shut it off, or I send a message and then I shut it off. And I'm done. Like it's a dead stop. And it feels weird to do that, but you've done what you're supposed to do usually by that time frame, as long as you've set a realistic time frame. So, or you can come back to it in your next time frame, because mine's throughout the day. So.
And I found that with a business like mine, I tend to just set business hours. And I stick to that. I mean, I take a break during the day and stuff because Uriel's virtual school stuff gets done during the day too. But my clients know that, and it doesn't take very long. But I work. My work stuff gets done between these hours, and between these hours only. I do podcasts and things like that outside of that, but it's because I enjoy it, and it's part of my blog, which is actually just a hobby. And Yuri's not home. My husband's not home. So,
I actually have something like that too. Since I network so much with my business, I found there is on TikTok, which is so popular right now. There's a group of moms that meets every Friday night. And so I told my husband, I said, this is work, but it's not work. And so I get on there and I'll spend 2 or 3 hours on there if I want to. But it's different. It's not actual business. It's more of I like talking to these people, and I am getting to know people, and that does lead people to my site and to my stuff. But it's not I'm not talking about business at the time.
it's also decompression, which is important again for that work-life balance. Because TikTok is also about fun. So.
And I don't think that it's hard. I don't think that the reason that it's so difficult to see friends right now is actually because of the pandemic, as much as it makes sense for it to be a pandemic. Everybody's busier, from what I've noticed. And I don't think everybody needs to be busier, but they are, because we've got so much extra stuff that's being sent home for us to do. Even the people that I know that are working in person at least part of the time, and their kids are in person part of the time, have all this virtual stuff to go home now.
I think we actually started bringing that on ourselves because initially when last year when we all started staying home and everything was shutting down, everybody was all about, let me clean out my kitchen and let me learn how to knit scarves for poodles. And then, like even when Uriel's school shut down in March and he didn't go back, and even ESY was like online, which ended up being a bunch of boom cards, and they sent us a letter complaining about it. And I'm like, you're the one that did this. Why are you complaining? We didn't do this. You did this. I wasn't upset that they didn't do it in person. That's fine. I'm glad they didn't do it in person, but then they complained about the curriculum they chose. I'm like, why are you complaining about your choice? Okay. But now I think everybody, businesses and individuals are just rushing to stay busy to distract themselves by the fact that they feel like they have nothing to do anymore because they don't want to just sit around anymore. Like they want to feel like life is normal again when what we once thought was normal is just gone.
It definitely is.
Having survived COVID, I'm here to tell you guys, normal is gone. And in fact, one of my sexy pair of new glasses are right here.
Is that like to prevent a migraine, or what are the glasses?
This pair, these are the ones I wear to drive.
Okay.
Because, like regular lights, even the ones in here, I have photophobia, which I had before, but I was a very small percentage with COVID that ended up with a brain infection that affected my eyes and made photophobia worse. They said it could last weeks, months, or the rest of my life. They don't know. So these help knock out the rest of the blue light that comes out of lights. I have a special filter on my screen from a website called f.lux. But these are the ones I wear to drive because they don't filter out so much that I can't see red lights, like stoplights. That would be bad. And then my other ones are that I usually wear in the house because I had to drive Jacob's car today. So that's why these are so close by. Because my keys are over here. And then my ones that I usually wear in the house, my brand new ones that came. You know, the little funny picture that said, I have no idea what this caption says. That I posted on Facebook over the weekend. Or over there. And those are the ones I wear in the house because I can't see anything that's red. Everything that's red looks practically white or I can't see it at all. Super great. But it makes the pain like instantaneously gone. So
See, I still have photophobia whenever I have my LASIK surgery, and I still haven't had it to an extent. Like last summer I couldn't go out during the day very well.
yeah.
And I have glasses sitting on my desk so that if it's bright outside, I can put them on. But I don't have the same amount of problem as I did at first, because whenever I would first walk out, like my concrete driveway looked like it was glowing up at me.
Yep.
And completely eliminated. And I instantly had a headache. I was like, no, I gotta go back inside. So now the sunglasses work for me. Thankfully, I haven't had anything make it worse. I hope I never do because I can't imagine.
I usually, when I go outside, have to wear these with sunglasses. So.
Well, that's a wonderful dynamic.
I mean, I'm not dead, so.
Right. Yeah, that's a good thing. We're definitely that's why I'm taking care of my grandparents right now is because of COVID. And yeah, so my
I
grandpa's
mean,
home from the hospital today because I can't do anything more for him. So kind of up to what's gonna happen. So
people have to understand that what we once thought of as normal is gone.
my child actually started accepting today that he might need to get used to a mask because he doesn't want to not go to school again next semester. He wants to go in person. And he's like, Mom, I think I need special masks, and I need to start trying to wear them because I want to eventually go back to school. And
Yeah.
they were talking about thinking next year they're still going to be using masks today in his classes. So
My kid was
I
supposed
don't
to have
know.
gone back in January, but his teacher got really sick, and then I was still sick, and I was like, no, no.
Well, see, Riker has made his choice. Tyler did not have a choice because they're doing pre-K, but I didn't have him signed up, and then I wasn't going to send him to pre-K for the first time with all the extra stuff that they have in place.
Yeah.
And he can't sign up in the middle of the year. And so there is no online pre-K program, so I developed his stuff myself. He's learning well, so
That's good. I did Brian's, my 22-year-old's, and he turned out okay, so.
Ryder, whenever he started kindergarten, he was not ready. Like not to the extent that he should have been, because I had no idea what he was supposed to know.
They
So we
sent
did like an
with Jacob, they called me because he really wanted to go, and I was like, okay. So I sent him, and then like a couple months in, they called me and they're like, you need to come get him. He's not ready for this. And I'm like, he's here to learn to get ready for school.
Right. Tyler got they had an opportunity to start pre-K last year, and he could go get evaluated. And whenever he went in, they said, "Well, he's not ready to function in a school environment." And I'm thinking, isn't the whole point to teach him to function in a school environment? Like that was how the program was.
What are you supposed to do? Have like a group of 5-year-olds at your house?
Right. Like, okay, so I'll just bring a bunch of 3-year-olds to my house, and we'll just do it there for a month, and then come get him evaluated. That sounds great. So, yeah. I'm thinking they're gonna have a lot of fun with kindergartners next year since pre-K wasn't off.
Yeah. And it's not like kids can really get together. This is not the chicken pox.
Yeah. Oh. So I did want to throw out there that as far as balance goes, the one thing that I won't allow myself to do is completely drop business for family or whatever else. Even if I have to stay up late, I'm gonna get some of it done. If I have the craziest family day, I'm still going to do something, because if you let yourself completely drop it, it's not just that you don't make money if you don't do work a lot of the time when you have any kind of business, but it's also the fact that it's harder to start the next day if you don't do anything for a day.
I agree.
If you do even just a minimum amount of everything that you need to do, just to keep yourself in that practice, then you're able to do it a lot easier and just stick to your routine the next day. So
Absolutely. And then it goes back to not beating yourself up because you didn't do anything.
Right. See, the one time I was really tempted to do it, my transmission went out of my car, and I spent hours and hours there, and I was planning on working that afternoon. So didn't work out that day. And then that's what I was like, you know what? If I don't do it today, I'm not going to do it tomorrow. So I'm going to do something for 30 minutes before I go to bed. And it was the middle of the night, and I did something for 30 minutes before I went to bed, just to work that muscle, because I think our consistency and our work muscle of being at home is so important whenever you are at home.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. Any other parting words of wisdom? Because I've had you almost an hour.
We've had fun.
It has been fun.
Not as much, I don't think. Because I could get into specifics, but I don't really do.
Well, you said that you had something earlier that you might want to elaborate on. So before I let you go, I wanted to make sure that you didn't want to.
That was mainly the priorities and processes thing. Which for me, processes, I kind of mentioned, it should be focused on your income producing activities for business, and it should be focused on what's most important to your kids into your family
for
for
family,
family
when
when
you're
you're
scheduling
scheduling
it,
it.
those
Those
processes
processes
come
come
first.
first.
So
So
with
with
family,
family,
it's
it's
the
the
doing
doing
the
the
dishes,
dishes,
the
the
starting
starting
the
the
laundry
laundry
quickly
quickly in the morning,
and
and
then
then
our
our
breakfast
breakfast
together,
together,
our
our
lunch
lunch
together,
together,
and
and
our
our
dinner
dinner
together
together
are
are
a
a
priority.
priority.
So we
So we have processes in place for those things.
And
And
then
then
my
my
most
most
income
income
producing
producing
activities,
activities,
I
I
have
have
processes
processes
including
including
those,
those,
and
and
so
so
those are the
things
things that I
that I
do
do
first.
first.
Beyond
Beyond
that,
that,
you
you
schedule and
schedule and
everything
everything
is in
is
a
in a
process.
process.
But
But
if you
if you
make it a process for all those important things, then you don't skip those later. And
And that goes back to the priorities too,
which
which
is
is
what I
what I
was
was
going
going
to
to
elaborate
elaborate
on.
on.
We
We
talked
talked more about purpose, so.
Either way, it's all fantastic stuff.
Absolutely.
So if someone wants to get a hold of you to learn more about who you are and what you do, how would they do that?
So
The link,
I will send you the link. I have a link that links to all of my different social media.
Okay.
Generally, you can find me under Amber Henry everywhere. Um,
the
the
photo is the same for everyone,
but
but
those
those
will
will
all
all
be
be
linked
linked
in
in
the
the
link
link
that
that
I'm
I'm
going to
gonna
send you.
And
And that link also links to what my business does. And anytime that I add a social profile, it goes onto that link so that you can always go back to it.
Is it short enough to share it here for the audio?
Um,
It's okay if it's not. I just wanted to check just in case.
yes, it is. So it's a link tree link.
I use Linktree too.
What?
I use Linktree too.
So whenever you have Linktree, it's linktr.ee / Amber Henry 14. So AMBERHENRY 14.
Perfect.
Perfect.
All right, and then I'm gonna do my outro. So hopefully you're walking away with some action items, ideas, and a plan. Don't forget to subscribe to catch the next podcast so you never miss out. Whether you're new to work from home or if you're well into your work from home lifestyle, it's my hope that you gain the insight and tools that you need. As a matter of fact, I have the perfect community for you. Go to confessionsfromthecouch.com and click on Join the Community to learn more about how you can gain one-on-one time with me and other work-from-home enthusiasts. Don't waste another second. Go and find out if you could be undervaluing your services, as well as learn more valuable information about how you can potentially grow your work-from-home business by visiting confessionsfromthecouch.com and clicking Join the Community now. Join me next time and keep learning.
Yay!